So Russ Humphreys and a team of scientists came up with a plan. They made a prediction. This is how science is supposed to work. You make a prediction, you publish the results, you get them independently verified, and you compare the results to your prediction. They made a prediction. They wanted to know how fast helium would leave the zircons in these granite pieces of rock, how fast they would diffuse out at a certain temperature. They submitted this through a mining company that's friends with creationists, because if they tried to give it to a lab, an evolutionary lab, they wouldn't have done this test. So through a mining company, they were able to pull off this experiment. They actually published the results in a book in, I think, 2000. They ran the experiments over 3 years, and here's where the data lined up. That's how science is supposed to work. And here's what Russ Humphrey said: the sequence of events places the burden of disproof on the critics because they must explain how, if there's no truth to our model, the data accidentally, by sheer coincidence, just happened by blind chance to fall right on the predictions of our model. Really good evidence for a young Earth, And you know, I read a lot of creation materials. I've listened to a lot of speakers. I can't remember where I heard this. I heard this recently. You know, evolution is a lot of people believe in evolution, but it's a lot easier to reach people on that because it's so silly. Uh-oh. I'm not sure why this is happening. A mutation in my computer. Okay. Well, anyways, while I try to recover my computer, I think I'm going to have to reboot the whole thing. So the point is, you know, when you talk about the age of the Earth being really old, it's so abstract that people are more likely to believe it, and it's harder to convince them against it. So we really need to focus more on that. I know sometimes, like in presentations, it can be a little bit drier, but I came to realize that's a really important topic, because more people, it's easier for them to believe that it's so abstract. Okay, well, you know, everybody likes to talk about dinosaurs, not just kids and teenagers. And it is a favorite tool of evolutionists because they know that too. People really are interested in dinosaurs. So let's take a look at that. They start real early with their propaganda. If you consider this Dr. Seuss book, from fossils, dinosaur teeth, eggs, and bones got stuck in the muck, then the muck turned to stone. These fossils were old. They were dusty and worn because they were made long before you were born. Not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of years long before you were born. They start this indoctrination early. Here's some evidence of dinosaurs and people. There's many traditions of large dinosaur-like creatures, and there's a lot of ancient drawings all over the world. My landscaper really wasn't familiar with the creation argument, has seen a lot of these. He spends a lot of time in Mexico and South America. Here's a pictograph from inside the Grand Canyon. And by the way, evolutionists don't think these are frauds or anything. They just try to explain them away. It's interesting to hear some of their excuses. For example, you see an apatosaurus and a pterodactyl or something of that nature. So evolutionists, they say that, well, either they dug up fossils and they knew about dinosaurs, or they were just artistically lucky. They have a very difficult time explaining this, because they realize, again, that the desert varnish validates its age. What kind of dino does this look like? This is from a burial stone in Peru. So we know that it dates around 500 to 1500 AD. Triceratops, and it's got somebody riding it. So is this evidence that man and dinosaurs were together? This is interesting at Carlisle Cathedral in northern England. Under this carpet is the tomb of Bishop Richard Bell. He died in 1496. Look at what's engraved on his tomb. Here's a civilization in Cambodia. There's this column that's really interesting. It's got animals carved into it. It's got a monkey, an elk, water buffalo. It's got some parrots. Well, here's an interesting one here. Looks like they saw a stegosaurus. Are dinosaurs mentioned in the Bible? Yes. Is the word dinosaur in the Bible? Is the word email in the Bible? Is the word internet in the Bible? No, the word wasn't invented yet. The word dinosaur was invented in about 1841. The King James was translated from the Hebrew and the Greek in roughly 1611. That's why we don't find the word dinosaur in the Bible, but we do find some really good descriptions from the book of Job. Behold, now Behemoth, which I made with thee, he eats grass as an ox. He moveth his tail as a cedar. His bones are as strong as pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is a chief of the ways of God. Interesting description. It says he moves his tail like a cedar. At that time, dinosaurs had probably gone extinct or close to it. And so they'd kind of faded from man's memory. So in the margins of the Bible, they wrote hippopotamus or elephant. Have you ever seen the tail of a hippopotamus or an elephant? Does that look like a cedar tree? Well, here's an experiment. Does that work? No. Let's try hippo. That one works. It's a good description of a dinosaur. I have many more examples, but for the sake of time. Unfossilized T-Rex bones. They found blood cells in a T-Rex bone about 10 years. And I used to show this slide quite a bit, and this is pretty much all we had was this one little picture here. And the scientist said it was exactly like looking at a slice of modern bone, but of course I couldn't believe it. I said to the lab technician, the bones are, after all, 65 million years old. How could blood cells survive that long? Well, that's a really good question. They would make excuses for this, that somehow a fossilization process would make it look like that. They can't make excuses anymore. Here's what they found, and this work was done about 3 years ago. T-Rex elastic tissue, fresh tissue, soft fibrous tissue, red blood cells. They've now even extracted protein from T-Rex bones. This is a great witnessing tool. This alone can do a lot of good. Just Google T-Rex blood vessels. If you're at work and you're talking to a friend about dinosaurs aren't millions of years old, what a great way to do it. I've done this many times, and people are just shocked when they see this. They're really surprised because they've been brainwashed into thinking the dinosaurs are millions of years old.